Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Monetize Your Network. My name is Rollo Lutz. I'm joined by
Micheal Dine.
And we're here to continue on our conversation about how to monetize your network. So in the last session, we might have brought up a few different points about map-wise and map finding and wayfinding and all the good stuff about that type of technology. Today, we're going to dive in more deep into that. So, Micheal, I believe the technology we're here to discuss is indoor services. So why don't you just give us a quick rundown of the definition of indoor services and how we at Juniper kind of define that from a technology standpoint as well as just a terminology.
So that's great. Let's talk about that. I'm going to first define it as being a set of components that create a service. And those components would consist of things like a group of hardware, software, data, processes that are in place and algorithms, and then people. And those 5 components, when put together, can deliver location services. So from a Juniper perspective, that's hardware such as like access points, so we can kind of contextually see every device that's out there, and then have algorithms that run that identify where they are and deliver services to. So when I talk about services, it could be everything from like HVAC systems. Probably you go to the grocery store, you've been there, you go through like the freezer section and the lights are off, and as you walk in, the lights come on and things start to happen. That's kind of an example of location services in a way. I'm using location services as a means to provide services such as light and heat. What that does for our company is that it actually saves them money, or you're going to use it to drive behavior of a certain device or person by sending them information to getting them to do things. And it can be everything from, hey, I'm looking for, where's this particular office located, to where's this device, I'm waiting for it to show up. Think of it as the Bluetooth service, the Blue Dot service that you get on the outside world. It's kind of like outside services, but you're getting it inside instead of outside. How's that? That's kind of like, I would say, is a general way of describing it.
Okay. And then how would you describe, I guess, the technology behind it all? How at Juniper do we incorporate indoor services into our Mist APs? Like, are we using BLEs? How does that, incorporate our Mist cloud as well?
Right. So in this case, we leverage, that hardware component in this case are our access points. So, you bolt them up in the ceiling, and inside them is our Bluetooth antenna. It's a 16-element array. It's patented. And what it does is, the way GPS works is that there's a bunch of satellites up in the sky and they beam things down to your phone, so it can kind of identify where you are. That's exactly what we do, except instead of being outside and, in orbit around the Earth, it's in the ceiling of a building, and it's beaming down to your phone or, your whatever your Bluetooth tag that you may happen to have, to be able to identify where you are. I always kind of think of it, rightly or wrongly, kind of like, sonar. It's like I can send a signal to you, and then based on how long it takes to come back, I can figure out exactly where you are. In the case of what we do, is that we'll have all these beams beaming down from multiple access points. And that's what allows us to go from, you're in the room, to you're standing right there, and we're accurate within like about a meter, from doing that, which is pretty good.
Yeah, and on top of that, since we're talking about more of the wayfinding portion of it all, it is also, we have clocked in at sub-second latency. So no matter how fast someone is usually moving at that rate, you're not going to be able to just get lost in it, even if it's a kid running at however fast they can run. The virtual beacons, which we have touched on, vBLE is definitely a key component of all of that technology. So how would we say this benefits customers, companies, and just overall the whole IT industry? How does this technology modernizing how we shop, how we use services and locations?
So because we're Bluetooth technology that's built into our access points, what it allows us to do is we actually leverage something called an SDK, which will go inside, a potential business's app that they have for their phone, for example. And so as I enter a business, I can then be greeted. And I'm greeted from these virtual beacons that are out there that you can easily set up and configure and say, hey, when somebody's within a certain distance of that particular location, that virtual beacon, send them this message. And that message could be everything from maybe it's a hotel or something like this. Welcome to the hotel. And, please, press the button to check in. So I don't need to wait in line with 50 other people to get checked in. I can do it automatically. Or say it's same thing with a doctor's office or a dental office. If it's retail, I can be greeted and say, hey, we've got the sale going on. And I know that this is what you buy because I have all your buying history from this particular store. We've got a sale on this. So, with location services, as I said in the beginning, it's about hardware and software, the algorithms. And what you're doing is you're driving customer behavior. And in some cases, you're getting them to buy things. And in some cases, what you're doing is you're making their experience better than it was before. And even things like when you go to the mall, back in the olden days, you call your buddy up and they'd be like, hey, where are you to? And it's like, well, I'm standing outside this shop. Oh, I know where that is. Stay where you're at. I'll come where you're to. And then it's like, poof, I walk across the mall and I get to you. Now it's like I could share that information from my phone and say, this is where I am. And then my buddies can all wayfind to you. So it's a completely different experience than the way it used to before. So we're improving the experience for our customers. And at the same time, we're also, taking the network, demanding more, and we're actually helping them generate revenue where the network didn't necessarily do it in that fashion.
Yeah, and I would definitely love to throw in there, every store, no matter how big or small, somehow nowadays everyone has an application. And this is driving the value and making sure that application is worth it to the customer to download. So not only are you making sure your business or your store or maybe even your workers can take that information and use it valuable in your application. So personalizing the offers for a customer, whether it be near a specific food or maybe it's directly attached to their account. Maybe it's for your employees, right? If we're talking about just employee happiness and making sure people stick around, having a wayfinding app to find the nearest conference room and being able to understand, hey, is this one open? Is anyone in there? Can I go and use it? It's a great, and it allows a better mobile experience, which means a happier user experience at the end of the day.
That's right. It's a way of building loyalty with your customers. You want them to come into your location and do whatever behavior that you want them to do, and you want them to do it, because they enjoy coming there and buying from you in this particular case.
We also know that, you can listen to us all you want, but, if there's ever any type of awards on complimentary things you need to go out and look, just turn to Gartner. We recently just got 2022 and 2023 for indoor services locations because we are leading that way. You'll see no other Wi-Fi or networking company even near us because we are doing something that no one has looked into it before. Mist really incorporated all this and we are just pushing it forward and forward. And that's been recognized by not only, the general public, but we're also talking about customers' reviews. This isn't just like us saying it. This is what people are experiencing themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a two-peat on that one. Absolutely. And when you look at the report, we're actually the furthest with the most vision compared to any other company, which I think is pretty cool, considering we're traditionally like a networking company. And you can see that transition away, in my mind, from being just a pure networking company to be more AI driven and delivering those services to our customers and changing the way that, people use their networks than the way they used to, 5, 10, 20 years ago. So it's completely different.
So speaking about, we've kind of gone down this of defining what indoor services is, why people use it. Why don't we go through some use cases, Michael? Any off the top of your head?
So use cases are, I'll give you some real ones, and then, I'll talk about some potential areas that you could consider, because you listen to us talk on some of our previous ones, we talk about use cases, they are pretty much limitless. We have some customers who are retail customers, and the use cases, they walk into the store and they get greeted, they get driven to buy whatever they traditionally buy, and it's on sale, so they get a coupon. So, the customer gets a deal on that. Other things are, use case are things like offices, locations where you come in and you can be greeted for your appointment, and I'm here. I don't have to go see somebody to stand in line to check in for my appointment. They just know that I'm there. And
are you talking about hospitality, or are you talking about office?
Well, actually, it can actually be both, right? Because from a hospitality standpoint, I could show up at the hotel and check in. But from a business case, a commercial side, I could actually show up at, say, maybe my financial institution or whoever it is and say, I'm here, click the button, and they know I'm there. And then, great, somebody will be with you in whatever period of time, that it's going to take. And then that way, I don't have to wait in line anymore. I've actually seen this kind of, not exactly like this, but like at some theme parks where it's like, you have to wait, 2 hours in line. Well, now what they've done are things like you can check in for that, and they tell you what time to come back to that line. So they call it a virtual line. It's still a line. It's just, I don't have to stand there next to all these, sweaty, smelly, stinky, loud, upset people because they're standing in line with me. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that, but it's true. What do you want me to tell you? If you've ever stood in line at a theme park, get on a ride, that's exactly what happens. So going to a virtual line where I just show up and I don't have to wait as long, especially you got little kids, that is a huge, huge benefit. But like other use cases would be, I think I mentioned HVAC. Back in the day when I was a kid, that was a long time ago. We did have electricity, Rollo, back then, just telling you. Yes, we had a telephone too. Number one, I tell you that, with all sorts of love for you. So, in the morning, you get up and, originally being from Canada in the wintertime, it's cold. So, parents would come in and they turn the one thermostat up just a little bit, make the house a little bit warm. And then everybody went to bed at night, they turn it down, and everything was manual. Businesses were the same way. They would set it and then, maybe change it at night. Then we got to this point of this, maybe still before your time. It was the coolest thing was like, if I went on vacation, I would get this thing that would plug in, and I'd plug my lamp in and turn the dial to say what comes on and off. We went to a programmable, which was great because now I didn't have to leave my light on all the time. And businesses, same sort of deal. Now we're to the point where it's like, I want to be able to provide light and heat and all that kind of stuff, turn on the elevators when somebody enters the building. But I don't want to have every floor lit up. I want to go to a certain elevator and I press the 15th floor. Well, by the time I get to the 15th floor, the lights have come on. The HVAC has come on to, set the proper temperature for me, as opposed to leaving it on all weekend or leaving it off and then somebody having to come in and do that. So you can do all that with, our solution. So you walk into the building, you have your Bluetooth tag on you on your card. It recognizes me, it lets me in the building and does all these things automatically. So what's the benefit, you say? The benefit is that as a company, I get to save lots of money because I don't have to have HVAC running or electricity running or whatever running 24 hours a day. I only need to turn it on when somebody is actually in the building. To me, a little bit of the downside, I don't know if you've ever had this, Rollo, and you're sitting there and you haven't moved for a while in the office and then the lights shut off. That's annoying. But besides that, I think it's an awesome solution. It's a way of businesses being more efficient, and you'd be surprised at how much money companies can save just by turning the lights off or dimming them down for short periods of time.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go off on my own use cases. You just did the same thing. I think for a use case, since this is still kind of fresh in my brain, is a college education experience is a lot more different when you have a self-guided tour on your phone. Not everyone nowadays has the ability to spend an entire weekend at a campus. Sometimes you're spending quick trips to go visit one and go up and go back home. With this technology, indoor services with your phone, you can be able to do your own self-guided tours. You can be able to go visit the places that you want to go visit. You're going to navigate students who are on campus who don't know where exactly your classroom is. You can be able to give them a self-wayfinding area to the exact location they need to be, so no student can be late, even though we all will be eventually late. But it's also making that experience more powerful and more appealing to them as well. Like it allows the on-flow of campus to be a lot more smoother. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this before, but right when classes get out, everyone's flooding the area and not really that great of an experience from a user standpoint. So from technology, this is a great way of leveraging that and being able to make the user's experience better. And this is just one aspect of things. Michael, why don't we just talk on real quickly here? What are some partners that you could think of off the top of your head that kind of really allow for India services to expand and grow in this open API ecosystem that we have?
Well, there's two that I can think of off the top of my head. One is MapWise, which I think is now owned by ServiceNow, who's also a great partner for customer. And then Swiftly, which has an app that you can use, and it's for grocery shopping. So you can once you have the app, you get your loyalty points, you can make your shopping list, and as you go in, you can wayfind through the store to get to whatever it is. But the other thing is that, hey, they know, Rollo, that you like a certain type of product and you're near it or close to it. They can actually push a message to you and say, hey, Rollo, this is actually on sale. You might want to look at this, and here's a digital coupon. And so those are two that I can think of off the top of my head. But if you go to this.com/ecosystem, you'll see like there's loads and loads of partners. Yeah, there's going to be a link somewhere. I'm going to point one of these directions, and there'll be a link for you guys to see. So those are two that I can think of off the top of my head.
Wonderful. Well, before we end this, I think one great aspect of this is all the data that we're collecting with this technology, right? So what would be the best way to use all this technology? Might be just be getting an analytical report on it. Maybe one might say premium analytics. Maybe who knows?
I know that's a good idea. That should be our next topic. You should come back to us and join us next time so that you can see about premium analytics.